this weather update, we're forecasting a major system going across the central United States this week, bringing severe weather and beneficial rain to millions, as well as lots of snow in the Rockies. We're also going to be looking at a major cold blast that is going to be expected this week as well, and that new pattern change that we will have to continue to watch as we go into the winter season. All of the details on all of that is coming right up. Alright, welcome back into another More Weather Forecast video. My name is Beckett Moore, and I'm back here in the weather studio. We haven't done a video here in a while, but I'm back for another video. So far in November, besides that big cold blast at the start of the month, it's been very quiet, so I haven't had to make a lot of videos, which is great because usually when we're making videos, we're talking about severe weather, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Not very significant, so that's good. As well here. So let's get straight into the forecast. Looking at the European model, like I said in the intro, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get out of that intro and into the forecast. So looking at around the time I'm making this video, around 12 p.m. today, from the European model, this is the 0Z run of the European model, and we do have lots of rain from Nebraska and southern South Dakota all the way down into Oklahoma and northern Texas. We also are seeing a swath of snow in the higher elevations over here into Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, down through Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. In those higher elevations, we are getting some snowpack, so that's great for those skiers for Thanksgiving. So going into tomorrow and later today, we are going to see that rain start to get into a place like St. Louis, central Illinois, central Missouri, into a place like Memphis here as well. So this is around 12 p.m. tomorrow. We see that large swath of rain, and this will eventually get into places like Chicago and Indianapolis as we go later into Monday. But that large swath of rain possibly causing flash flooding down here into Arkansas, towards Memphis and towards Nashville as well there on Monday. So it's going to be a very rainy, gloomy day tomorrow for a lot of people there, from St. Louis, Des Moines, south of Des Moines, Iowa, to St. Louis, down through Memphis and down through New Orleans. It's going to be a very gloomy day there along that lower Mississippi, that mid-Mississippi and lower Mississippi Valley there. So going again into Wednesday, we'll get into the severe weather. As you can see, those oranges and yellows, we will get into that right after this. So in a couple of minutes, we'll get into that severe weather forecast. But we are going to have many severe thunderstorms down here into Mississippi, southern Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas later on Monday into the afternoon and evening hours. But by the time we go into early on Tuesday, so this is around 3 a.m. on Tuesday, that rain is going to be out of your hair in St. Louis. By the time we go into around 6 a.m. here, or around and into lunchtime, we are going to get that rain out of your hair as well into Indianapolis and Chicago here. But that large swath of rain is going to keep on trucking towards the I-95 corridor here. So it's a place like New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., down through Richmond, Virginia, and up towards Boston. As we go into Tuesday and into Wednesday, we are going to see a lot of rain. So we're probably going to see a flash flooding threat there as well, and big time snow into Vermont, New Hampshire, and the upstate of New York, as well as into Maine. So we'll be watching that as well, getting a lot of snows. We do have a little bit of a cold pocket up there, but once we get into the middle of the week, we're pretty much hanging warm and dry here in the central United States, eastern United States. That rain will definitely be out of your hair by the time we go into here around 3 p.m. on Wednesday. So we're pretty quiet for right now, but as we go here into Thanksgiving, still pretty quiet. It's going to be great for travel, which is great for travel there. But as we keep going here into Thanksgiving and into the Black Friday after Thanksgiving, we are going to be watching this big swath of snow. I know your guys' eyes went to it. My eyes are definitely going to it because I love seeing that blue on the map, especially near where I live in St. Louis. We're going to have some rain down here to the south, into Alabama and Mississippi and around New Orleans as we go into Friday, which is good because we need that rain. But this snow swath is what we're definitely going to be watching closely. So Denver through pretty much the whole state of Wyoming. Doesn't matter if you're in the lower elevations or higher elevations. Pretty much everyone's going to be seeing snow, except Salt Lake City. You might see that wintry mix. But a lot of snow. And usually when we see this, we're seeing this warm air down here. We're seeing this cold air and snow coming down from the north. and we see this kind of track for storms. So like here we got a low pressure center. We can usually get a low pressure center to form. We get snow on this northern side and rain on the southern side. That's usually what we see in the winter. That's usually how places like Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Indiana, a lot of the Rust Belt gets their big snowstorms from that sort of track. So are we going to see that? Well, right now what the Euro is hinting at, no, that kind of just falls apart. We see some snow there in the southern plains, especially in both of the panhandles there, panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. But it just falls apart, and that's what we're looking at for right now. Now, that could definitely change. We could see a strong low pressure center form and see that go along that track. But for right now, I think that cold air blast is just a little bit too strong. It's pushing that warm air down a little bit too fast, and that area of low pressure, that low pressure center, doesn't have enough time to form, get its act together, and form into a big time snowstorm. So for right now, just a lot of snow in the Rockies and into some parts of the southern plains, but that kind of falls apart by the time we go into Sunday. Now, if it didn't fall apart, we would probably see that track into a place like Missouri and possibly snow into a place like St. Louis, Jeff City, Kansas City, down and into Tulsa, Oklahoma, into Illinois here as well. So that's a scenario we're going to have to watch for. But for right now, and this is far out, so this is definitely going to change, but for right now, we're not looking at that, and I will definitely have updates in the coming days. So now let's look at that severe weather aspect I told you about a couple of minutes ago. We do have a slight risk for severe weather, 2 out of 5 for severe weather tomorrow into southern Arkansas, a large chunk of Louisiana, eastern Texas, and central and western Mississippi here. So that's slight risk, 2 out of 5. We have a 5% chance of tornadoes, which means a few isolated tornadoes can definitely not be ruled out. A few tornadoes are possible. We do have a 15% hail outlook and a 15% wind outlook as well. So damaging hail, gusty winds, and a few isolated tornadoes, those are our main threats. So what I would be prepared for is some of that small hail as well as those gusty winds, the severe storms. So let's look at what the radar could look like as we go into tomorrow in the afternoon and evening hours. So going into around 12 p.m. here, we really do see those storms starting to fire off. Now, this is going to be a huge area of rain and storms, which a lot of times kind of makes the intensity of the storms go down a bit. So that's what we're going to be hoping for here, and I think that's why it's only a slight risk for right now. Is because there's so much rain, there's so many storms here that there's not really one storm that can get all this energy from the atmosphere, and that kind of dampens how powerful these storms are going to be. But we're still going to be having to watch some of these storms that have these hooks on them that look kind of like beans, because that's why we do have that 5% chance of tornadoes, because some of these storms that kind of rotate a little bit, that are allowed to rotate here throughout Texas and into Louisiana, they could produce tornadoes. So if you're here into Louisiana through Mississippi, especially in this corridor right here where we could see possibly a tornado watch or severe thunderstorm watch issued, you need to be on alert tomorrow. It's not the biggest severe weather threat. This isn't a super outbreak threat we're watching at all here, but it's still something that you need to definitely keep an eye on for tomorrow. Overall, it's just going to be a rainy, stormy, gloomy day down here into Louisiana and Mississippi and eastern Texas, but many claps of thunder. We're going to see a lot of lightning. Just be prepared for that. When thunder roars, go indoors. Heed all those tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings. And then the storms get to a place like Jackson and New Orleans by the time we go into late Monday night into early Tuesday morning. So late Monday night into early Tuesday morning in a place like New Orleans and Jackson. Alexandria and Shreveport, Louisiana, you're going to be dealing with it in the afternoon hours there on Monday. So tomorrow, just be prepared for that. It's not the biggest threat. I don't expect much, but again, a couple of isolated tornadoes, gusty winds, and that small hail that can still definitely be damaging. Now let's look at the convective available potential energy that will be in the atmosphere at this time. This is the instability, and it's one of the big ingredients we need for storms. Usually the more instability there is, the more powerful the storms are. And looking at this, we don't have the biggest amounts of biggest values of CAPE here, but it's still definitely enough to spark off that area of storms. So definitely, especially in this corridor, is where I would be most prepared for those severe thunderstorms, and that's why that slight risk is mainly centered around here. Again, a couple tornadoes cannot be ruled out, and you definitely do want to be on guard for those gusty winds and that small hail. Now, let's switch on over to forecasting temperatures. This is a thing that I have been talking about for a little bit now, is that big cold blast we're expecting this week in time for Thanksgiving for those travel plans, unfortunately, or fortunately if you're going skiing or something like that. But we do have a good definite chances that we are going to see below normal temperatures across almost all the United States besides Florida. So if you're down in Florida, you're probably going to be happy about that. It's not going to be rainy at all, so it's great Thanksgiving weather down there in Florida if you're taking a trip down there. But pretty much all of the United States is going to be below normal, and the bullseye here is here in the central United States. We're going to see that shot of cold air. And that cold air is probably going to be staying for a little bit. We're going to probably be seeing a lot of shots of cold air. Looking at the pattern that I'll look here at in a second if we have time, we just are going to see a lot of shots of cold air transitioning into that winter season. Again, December is just around the corner, so it's going to get a lot colder quickly here, so you definitely need to be prepared. That winter jacket is going to be needed. No more fall jackets, fall hoodies, or anything like that. No more fall hoodies. It's going to be time for that winter jacket as we go into later this week. Now, looking at the WPC forecast here, this is the amount of rain we're expecting in the next 72 hours, and very, very beneficial rain into a place like Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas here. So the places that are really needing rain are Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas. That's not a lot of rain, so 1 to 2 inches there, but it's enough to help just a little bit, as well as places into Mississippi and Louisiana, as well as pretty much the whole state of Alabama. They've been really needing rain. This is their rainy season, and we're going to start seeing an uptick in the amount of rain, again, with that severe weather, that large area of rain. So we could even get up to 2 to 3 inches in isolated spots in Alabama and Mississippi, and then over into Louisiana, 1 to 2 inches, over into Mississippi, 1 to 2 inches, up to 3 in some isolated spots as well. So those creeks, riverbeds, you definitely need to be watching for flash flooding, but overall this is very beneficial rain for this area. So a large storm bringing lots of rain to the eastern United States this week. And that about wraps up this more weather forecast video. Make sure you subscribe, go follow me on Twitter, be prepared for that severe weather tomorrow into Louisiana, Texas, southern Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama. That cold blast may be here to stay as we are, again, transitioning from that fall season into that winter season, and that big-time storm track that we're going to have to be watching for winter storms here in the future. As always, stay prepared out there, and I will see you soon with more weather.